soon. Daysville will look into our What If the World Goes Wrong series. And we are in World War III has officially begun. With the entrance of some more nations to the blue team. And well, a few red team. Yeah, this is hard to do. As it's declared World War III has begun, as basically every country has picked a side. With Nigeria ending up in war, deciding to go after Niger. With them getting some allies, which were some of the Coud nations. And just like this, we have entered most of Africa in. And why is this significant? Because it's a world war at this point. And then some former colonies decide to fight back against their oppressors. Such as Mozambique and Angola is still mad at Portugal, apparently. And apparently, the rest of South America has picked a side, and all the Caribbean is forced to join the American side. The Americans are getting ready for Operation Death Day. Death. Which they start with an offensive into Ecuador to try and get Peru and Bolivia to surrender before it's too late. And American forces arrive, and they start 3 main offensives in this area. They start one out from Ecuador by themselves, basically. This is important as it secures their gains here. They start an offensive with Brazil. This offensive is the goal of taking Lima, the capital. And then they start an offensive with Brazil into northern Bolivia. And well, with the help of Argentinian and Chilean forces, the Americans start their own offensive here. But with American troops distracted from some other fronts, Indonesia is told they can have the rest of Papua New Guinea and Malaysia and Brunei if they join and they win. So they take this deal as a good offer, which really wasn't. And parts of the Philippines too was offered to them, as well as good trades. But one problem, Australian forces were expecting this could happen, and they already set up an offensive, which they managed to hold Chinese forces back and even push them back a bit. As they push Indonesia back and they hold back from Chinese forces. And America uses Australia as the base for operations in this region. With Russia reinforcing, and China sending some troops over, Russia works on taking out the Balkans. With Russia's goal of connecting like this towards the main front, but they don't really get it. With Tunisia being quickly overrun. Now let's see how the new ECOWAS war goes. But don't worry, they have quite a bit of success in taking over Guinea and connecting the front. And they also take out Guinea-Bissau, and they go behind and take Niamey, the capital of Niger. With Niger, with the help of some more northern forces, pushing back a bit until they get to here. That's really harsh climate to get into, and they don't really think they're ready for that. With an offensive in the Mozambique being started by South Africa, knowing this would probably happen. And Angola is shocked to see a Democratic Republic of Congo push. But with the attack reaching into their nation, they have to pull troops out of the region. And then the front lines become like this. Very still, and not much happening. Within Europe, not much happens either. But the Chilean and Argentinian offensives with the help of American troops become a success. The push from Ecuador becomes even more massive. You may be wondering, why don't they use the full front line of the border? Because often, when you're trying to take out a country fast, countries don't really go after the whole country, but rather take the major cities in modern conflicts. Although, sometimes they go sideways and don't end up. With Bolivia losing all of its capitals, La Paz and Sucre, and well, there's not much fighting going on here. With Arabia really holding themselves. So Iran tries a surprise offensive into Qatar, which actually goes pretty well as it gets behind the front line and expands itself. With the moving troops and an encirclement gets created, which leads to Iran having a success in its most recent offensive where it reaches to here. With India getting pushed back slightly. But it's really hard to push a major nation like them back. This conflict's really dragging out. With Russia failing and almost all of starting to fail in its offensive goals, it opens a new front. Well, it extends the front really more so. As they move into Austria, this is a quick and unprovoked action, so nobody knows why. Quickly, Vienna falls, and they're stuck here at the Alps. They do manage to get into Slovenia and behind Croatia, leading to the collapse of these lines. With Greece being split in two, and Bulgaria having a lot of trouble holding its country together. That's an eventual collapse. But luckily, the Mediterranean Sea is certainly not in their hands. With them managing to get one country that's really mad, I guess. Namibia. I don't know what side some of these countries would pick, but at this point, I'm just literally making it as bad as it can be. And just throwing countries against countries, against countries, against countries. So maybe Namibia wouldn't do this. Maybe Namibia probably wouldn't do this in the real world. But they do. South Africa manages to get a stalemate, but with Angolan troops, which are some of the Angola's military and South Africa's militaries are some of the best in Africa. With them getting Chad involved to try and push Nigeria back. And a lot of this Africa is very hard to decide. I know some of this is right, but a lot of this here is just making random guesses, make it entertaining. With Mongolia refusing to allow Chinese goods through. China, with some Russian troops, Russia and China launch a big offensive. With America fighting many fronts and the blue team fighting on more fronts. With Bangladesh refusing to cooperate, they invade, and this gives them an upper hand. At this point in the Bengali front, they have the upper hand. And they use their upper hand to their advantage to push right through Bangladesh. So that's 160 million people, hard to hold all this land. With American troops deciding it's urgent that they get into the Middle East. With them doing this. Managing to hold the front like this. Eventually they lead it to this with a small area controlled by them. And with some involvement in the Ethiopia front, Ethiopia manages to launch a successful offensive. But the DRC is in a bad spot. The Republic of Congo and Central African republics are offered some good lands and quite a bit of reparations if they join at this point from the DRC. Luckily, we've seen nations fall, but we haven't seen them capitulate. With the DRC in a lot of trouble, with them starting to move into the resource rich. With Zambia for some useful lands in this region, decide to join. And they even started an offensive against Tanzania. And they encircle this lake. With the capital of the DRC falling and the DRC on the brink of capitulation. With the DRC capitulating, but luckily, they use this as an opportunity to move into the DRC and set up a, area. Because this is such big pieces of land, it makes it easy for them to, push them back quite significantly, even. But this is a very good victory for the red team. With Mozambique in a bit of problems, as a few countries are managed to be brought in by the West. This is becoming a bit of entertainment, but it's also if the world goes wrong, so we're going to make it go wrong quite a bit. With I'm starting an offensive here and over here. With this front now being seen as a big fumble. With Mauritania deciding to join to try and get some land in the peace treaty. But there probably won't be the biggest changes in land in the peace treaty. Now that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And let's see what happens in the next episode. Bye, guys!